Hi, it's Shane here from Lonely Grape TV, and welcome to this rather special event in releasing the Backyard Shed Crew pack number 1. Today, or right now, we're going to taste the other 3 wines from the mixed 6 pack, but the same 3 wines are also in the red pack. So obviously they're red wines. So let's get straight into it. So the first wine is the Curio Reserve McLaren Vale Bushvine Grenache 2007. Lovely bottle, imported bottle. Now Adam Hooper, the winemaker from Curio, I was talking to him just recently when I picked up the wine. Some of the vines that are used to make the grapes that goes into this wine are up to 120 years old, and I personally think that some of these old vine bushvine dry grain Grenache are some of the absolute gems of McLaren Vale and should almost be classified as national treasures. It'd be a shame for these to go. So let's do the wanky thing. Oh, I just love McLaren Vale Grenache, I really do. The aromas are just sensational, very different to Grenache from other parts of South Australia and the world. There's red berries here, so we're talking maybe raspberries coming through. There's a little bit of pepper right on the back of the aroma, so to speak. Wine is coming along nicely. These wines have been open for a number of hours to make sure they breathe nicely before doing this tasting. Now those red fruits are coming through. The raspberries not so strong, but red style berries coming through. That pepper again is coming through. Now here there's oak. There's lovely French and American oak combined in there. It's interesting. The American oak is actually coopered in France. The winemaker Adam says he seems to get a superior product from the way the French treat the barrels, which is I hadn't heard of before, so that's quite interesting in itself. The oak is not obtrusive though. Its marriage with the fruit is quite nice. Nothing is overbalanced, overpowering from the other. And this 2007 wine is coming together very, very nicely. Oh, I could sit here and smell this for ages. Now, what would I have with this? I really think this would go well with some lovely Dorper lamb roast. Maybe shoulder, maybe leg roast. With some freshly grown rosemary, a bit of garlic, some wonderful kumara to go with it, roasted kumara as part of your roasted vegetables, and some lovely lamb jus to smother over the top of it. Oh, again, I'm salivating just thinking about it. And you know what else would go nice with this? Roasted beetroot. The flavours and the sugars in the roasted beetroot would marriage just so nicely with this, coupled with that lamb. Yeah, that would be very, very nice. Now, speaking of very nice, we have the 5 Geese 2005 McLaren Vale Grenache Shiraz. Good shot of the 5 Geese label there. This wine is from the Blewett Springs sub-region of McLaren Vale, and the vines were 78 years old when they produced the berries to be picked for this. So this wine has 80% Grenache, 20% Shiraz. And that has a totally different nose to the previous one. Totally different nose. You get the red berries through again. A little bit of pepper, so that's the same. But there's a real perfumey coming through. Sort of like rose petals. Oh, that's nice. Those same red fruits are coming through. There's that pepper, as you would expect. There's a bit of peatiness coming through, which is classic for the Blewett Springs soil types and the wine produced from those soil types. And the oak is just not obtrusive at all. The oak is marriage nice. There's an absolute marriage there with the fruit. I suppose that's a good thing about it being a 2005. There's no oak monster. Very nice wine. Now, what might you have with this in terms of food? I really think, as I've tried this before and trying this now, it just brings it home to me even more. Coq au vin, chicken and red wine, with all the lashings, you know, all the mushrooms, the fresh beans, all that sort of stuff associated with the coq au vin. This wine would pull this off just nicely. Now, I know the coq au vin, the recipe I use calls for 2 glasses of red wine in the recipe. I'm not sure how much goes in the recipe and how much goes in me while I'm cooking it. But regardless of that, I think this wine would go well with coq au vin. Actually, I'm sure of it. Now, we have the 2006 Arakoon Sellicks Beet Shiraz. Again, another shot of the label. And this is the last of the 6 wines from the 6-pack. The mixed 6-pack. Or the first of the 3 wines in the red 6-pack. The grapes for this came from a multitude of vineyards in the Sellicks Beach area and into Wollonga, particularly the foothills of Wollonga. And I'm getting those flavours, the aromas coming up nicely through there. Wine is much darker than the previous wines, much darker. There's some hints of red currant jelly in there. Certainly white pepper. Very different characters, as you would expect from the Grenache based wines that we've tried so far. Oh, you gotta love McLaren Vale Shiraz. And this is a good exponent of McLaren Vale Shiraz. Those same characters, the red currant type flavours coming through. There's a bit of plumminess, which you would expect from McLaren Vale Shiraz. Just slight bits of pepper coming through. There's no major influence as pepper. But the good thing here is, even though this is seen both new and old French and American oak, okay, there's no oak monster here again. This is a well balanced wine. Would go nicely with a lot of things, okay, but being such a wine as it is, I really think a nice thick juicy T-bone steak. Now, I get my meat from Witchwood Meats in the hills not far from here, where they actually grow the cattle as such, right the way through to me going and picking it up at their farm. And I can just think of nothing better than a nice thick juicy T-bone steak with all the lashings, but the T-bone steak is the main thing around drinking this wine, drinking with it. Very, very nice. Again, I'm salivating just thinking about it, apart from the fact what the wine is doing to my mouth.